What's up, guys? It's John at National Sports Entertainment, and I figured I would cover our divisional. Just a preview, of course, as the games near. Things happen, and they will sometimes make me reassess, but based off of what happened this week, there's nothing too crazy. Of course, there was a few different matchups that we liked. I liked Browns Ravens, but Texans Ravens makes sense too. As far as our like bottom line, I should say, not bottom line, but as far as our path, not too much has changed. Just because a lot of the teams that we had advancing were going to get booted in the next round anyway, in my opinion. And some of the seeding changes, like Lions, Bucs, I think I personally had. I forget what I had, to be honest. I get no the line. Oh, because the Packers won, so that threw that off a little bit. Because of course I was going to have the Cowboys in there, only to get booted in the next round anyway. So like I said, it was nothing too nuts. But I wanted to go into how we did, and if you look at week one, or the wild card week, where basically all these games were pretty close games, you could tell the NFL is doing a very no nonsense approach to this week. So we're not going to get any of these teams with good odds, and probably because again we had some swerves in the wild card weekend. We're probably not going to get those swerves in the divisional round, which is why I'm sure the whole world's going to be on Houston getting like plus 300, whatever it's going to be. Same deal with Green Bay. All these two teams, look how great they looked last week. It is kind of interesting that the two young quarterbacks, rookie quarterbacks, are getting matched up against the two powerhouses. Maybe they throw us one upset. I don't personally see it, especially on the NFC side, but we can go into all that. So again, this week I made the mistake of playing parlays. We picked 4 out of 6, so we did pretty darn good as far as that's concerned. Chiefs won, and they won and covered. The Browns, obviously, that's the one we missed, and the Packers we missed. The Lions, we had them winning, no covering, so pretty good call there. And then coming into today, we did have the Bills going under, so I did miss the under, but we had the Bills covering the 10 and the Bucs covering. The Bucs winning slash covering. Obviously, if they're gonna win, they're gonna cover. So not bad. And again, this one just seemed like the most obvious to me. After seeing the other games, then I was even more committed to the fact that they could definitely boot the Eagles right out. And again, a 3 point spread. A few people asked me why I thought that was a trap. I, I don't think I need to answer that question. A team that barely made it into the playoffs, basically by virtue of being in a horrible division, and they both have banged up quarterbacks. So to me, it made no sense that the Eagles would get such disrespect unless they were expecting something like this to happen. So of some of the other games, I can understand people not thinking the line looked trappish, but to me, this one was very close either way, and the fact that it was such a ridiculous line really helped us. So Bucs came through, Bills came through, helping with some of our parlay losses. And you can see the first game next week is going to be Texans Ravens, and they're going to be pushing that game hard. As far as, in my opinion, CJ versus Lamar, all these different deals. So that's going to be an interesting game. And then we do have technically Battle of the Bays. We got Green Bay, San Francisco, 10 point spread. So again, I know Dallas was getting 7, but this feels a little different. This feels like I just don't think they're gonna again. I just can't imagine. I mean, sure the Bucs could beat the Lions, but I just can't imagine we get Green Bay, Tampa. That would be like the ugliest championship. And then the alternative to that is the third time we would see Packers Lions. So I feel like between the spread obviously and the fact that they've overstayed their welcome, there's just no way in heck that the Packers win. So it comes down to Packers Lions, or I'm sorry, Bucs Lions. And I went into this before. The Bucs would be interesting because Bucs Niners would give us in the NFC Championship. It would give us the first pick in the draft versus the last pick in the draft. A Heisman, I think he won the Heisman, versus a complete no-name Mr. Irrelevant. It's a great story. It's Battle of the Bays. It's Brady's childhood teams. There's a lot of connections, but I'm also thinking Niners Lions is something that you just can't pass up on. So we'll be going into all these games. Chiefs Bills, obviously, we knew we'd get this. Of all the matchups, I think we expected this one the most. Brady versus Manning 2.0 here, so that one will be interesting. So some pretty good matchups. We were over the target for the most part. Of course, the Browns, Cowboys, we're going to get swerves. There's going to be games we don't see them coming, which I addressed in my last video. I haven't responded to everybody, but for the most part, people understand where I'm coming from. There's a few people that still think like, oh, if it's scripted, then we'd get them all right, and I went into all that. Today we did well. Again, I think only in a scripted league can a team like the Eagles come out looking so unstoppable. If you remember at the beginning of the year, they had the whole fake beef between Hurts and Brown, and then they started killing it together, where it was like they were best brothers, just absolute besties. And then conveniently, towards the end of the year, Brown gets quote injured. It's setting up this little Baker run. Like I said, they seem to like Baker. They're treating him differently this year. It's one of the reasons we like the Bucs. And Baker versus the Lions will be a great game, a very physical game. And again, the Lions. My official bracket has Bills Ravens in the AFC Championship and Lions Niners in the NFC. So I had a slightly different path, but it's looking like we might get that exact bracket, which again makes perfect sense to me. I am looking at a few, wondering if maybe we do get Tampa, San Francisco instead of Detroit, San Francisco. So there's a lot of different things to look at. Obviously, a lot of people are thinking maybe we get Chiefs, Ravens, and yes, there's a lot of people that think the Texans are going to win again. And I don't know. I feel like most of the people that think that are the people who think it's real. So if the Texans do make it to the AFC Championship, maybe that question will be answered. I personally think they're getting beat, whether it's a close game or not. I get it's a week one rematch. I think the Ravens did win that matchup. It was barely though. So they're going to talk about that obviously. But for me, again, it's just the fact that it would be a nice draw if you get CJ versus the Chiefs, CJ versus the Bills. I get it. And yeah, knocking the Ravens out immediately would be interesting. Something that could happen. I've been with the Ravens all year and the Niners. I don't see any reason to jump off now, especially with these revealing lines. With the way the Texans just looked, in my opinion, there's no reason this shouldn't be like -5. So to have it at -9, basically saying they're as bad against the Ravens as the Steelers matchup was against the Bills, doesn't make any sense to me. And yeah, it seems like one where maybe they want people all over Tennessee or Houston thinking that it's an easy cover because of how well they just played against the number one ranked defense. So looking at the spreads again, I'll have official picks out coming up, but basically where my mind's at right now is we got in the AFC. I think it's a little more clear just because I think Bills Ravens is what we're going to get. And in the NFC, both of them make sense. The only thing that doesn't make sense is a Packers win. It's just there's no way. I could buy them again. Dallas losing to Green Bay first round, very Dallas like thing to do. Green Bay winning again, and then again either Green Bay, Tampa Bay in the NFC Championship. There's just no way in hell, and there's no way they give us Green Bay Lions, a game that we've seen twice on free TV as they say. There's no way they give it that to us in the playoffs. So I think for the most part, despite again missing wildly on the Browns, not getting the Cowboys, we did well. We split the first 2 days essentially as far as who we thought was going to win. Today we got them both, so I consider that good for a bad weekend. I hold myself to a pretty high standard, so for me, I consider it a bad weekend. But to be 4 out of 6 on a bad weekend, certainly not bad. We missed the Bills under today, so I did have that as an official play. So we did miss that one. But as far as just the paths of these teams, again, I saw these opening lines and I wasn't surprised, but it did make me really think, okay, there's something up with these first two games for sure. There's 10 and 9 point spread. While you might argue the 10-point spread is a perfectly fair spread, and I would agree with that. The 9-point spread, again, after what we just saw, I don't see why they would have it a 9-point spread. These two teams, again, had a very close game. The Texans have only gotten better, and they just destroyed the Browns. So it could be Vegas telling us something. So yeah, nothing crazy. Just curious what everybody thinks. Let me know what you think of which of these matchups I guess was the biggest surprise to you. Uh, Again, to me, the only one that I would say kind of was the Browns. But a few people did bring up the prospect of now you got Deshaun Watson heading into next year, and you're going to have all those what ifs. Oh man, what if Deshaun was nice and healthy? He might not be top five, but he's better than Flacco. All these different things. So that could be definitely what they're doing for next year. Kind of like the Jets getting them ready for Aaron Rodgers to return. The Browns, they could be just setting them up for Deshaun to return, just like the Colts have Richardson waiting in the wings. So I could certainly see that being the reason that the Browns didn't look too good. Chiefs looked really good and Bills looked good. So again, that's going to set up, in my opinion, a very good AFC Championship game. I wonder if Taylor Swift will officially break up with Kelsey before the game or something. We'll have to see what happens there. But like I said, I'll go into all four of these games. They're basically covered on my bracket, just again a little differently because in my bracket, and I think it's a strong pick. I did settle on Bills beating the Chiefs and then playing the Ravens in the AFC Championship. Of course, I had the Ravens beating the Browns. So again, it was slight differences, but nothing crazy. And then I had Green Bay. Well, I didn't have them here. I had San Francisco winning here, and the Lions. I had beaten the Cowboys here. I think San Francisco was playing the Bucs in my bracket in this round, or something like that. But either way, Lions and Niners advance. So both AFC and NFC championships that we predicted looking possible, looking probable if you look at Vegas's odds. So I think they're strong matchups. I had gone into multiple times why I just thought Lions, Niners, and Ravens, Bills were more draws than the other matchups we could have got, and that included when Dallas and Philly was still in the mix. It just made sense to me. But we'll have to see what happens. I don't think you push Detroit this far just to pull the rug on them. So early preview, basically I'm liking all the favorites if I have to be honest. It's just going to be a matter of if I think they cover, and then again a matter of are all the favorites going to win. They don't do that too often, so we could certainly see a wrench thrown into the plans. But yeah, I just wanted to cover basically what we had happen. I had already gone into obviously the Browns and Chiefs yesterday or 2 days ago, and I went into the Lions Packers yesterday. So I figured I would cover the Steelers Bucs, kind of cover them in their totality, look at the spread for next week, give my initial preview what I feel like is going to happen, and obviously as the week progresses, we'll cover the Ravens game in detail. We'll cover the Niners in detail, and yeah, you guys can let me know if you can hear them a little nasally, just dealing with some slight sinus issues, nothing crazy, just living in Florida. But if there's a particular game you guys want to go live for, I'll probably post a poll to see because it seems like you guys like going live depending on the game, but basically going into the game like pre-game ish, and then we can kind of talk during the game. That's what we did last week. So we could always do that. We could do it at like Saturday at like 4:15, or we could do it between the games, or we can go live Sunday. So I'll post that out, see who wants to do that as far as another live. That was always fun. I enjoy the lives. I do. We have a really good bit of positive people, and we talk about a wide array of subjects, which makes it very interesting. So thanks to everybody who always comes to them, and again, always everyone that's been supporting us. We've been doing really well, which I appreciate as far as analytics, and I'm glad we were able to kind of get back on track, finish out pretty strong as far as picking winners here. And as I went into before, I do think it's just going to get easier as the the matchups continue. Just because there's no way that some of these teams make the championship, I don't think. I mean, you never know. I just don't think we get it. I think some of these teams are definitely there because they're interesting stories, but nothing more. And I guess we'll find out on Saturday, but obviously we'll go into all those games as well. So take care and happy earnings.